if it's okay with you all to go through the next application that we received from the Chamber of Commerce for a beautification project. Rod, is that going to be you?
Yeah. Do we have an opportunity to put the slides up, or
we-
is that something?
So they have it in their packets.
Okay.
Our
They got a printed
our
version?
director of IT, Amy Lee, is out this week.
Okay, great.
But maybe Douglas, look at Douglas.
There it is, right there.
Magician.
Blowing our minds.
Ask and ye shall receive.
Just in case, if we do have issues with the presentation, they have a copy electronic and printed. So they're gonna be able to follow you along.
I am some kind of impressed, Douglas.
Oh, see that?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Only one at a time, Rob.
that's all right, no worries. Hey, point that back there. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Let's see, we may or may not have this thing working. Oh, there you go, over there, yeah. Okay, good. Good morning, I'm Rod Turnage. I'm president of the Chamber of Commerce. Island resident for 10 years, live on Sparrow Drive. My term ends in January 1, and Alex Stone is going to be the president. And I've got Laura Anderson Strecker with me too. Some of you may know her. Does a lot of good branding and marketing work here locally, and she's helping us. So we're seeking, I guess what I would call maybe a more synergy around, what the branding efforts of the city might look like.
Rod, talk into that mic if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
And just more of a targeted focus to demographics, areas. Some of you may have heard of, geo campaigns where you take a geography and that area, particularly for whatever reason, admires the Isle of Palms and all we're about. So we think we're well positioned to kind of help the city as a whole, and really use some of these ATAX funds for the good of the community. So, you'll see in your slides, this says rebranding. A couple of folks have challenged me on that, saying, well, haven't we always been family friendly? Haven't we always tried to attract families? And I think that's true. Another word that could be used here is just more of a dedicated focus as a family friendly destination. We want to celebrate Isle of Palms' charm, our community, and really attract family visitors. And that's local and out of state. So this is just us coming to you saying that we're prepared. We've got experience for targeted marketing efforts. I think we proved that in our first couple of years of existence as the chamber. And all this supports local businesses, local activities, dining, and just enhancing the collective island experience. We'll do this through multiple channels, and you'll hear that term a time or two. Social media, print media, and digital media, all focused around family friendly. So as a problem statement, local businesses tend to be underrepresented online. Some do a good job, but not all collectively. And visitor engagement with the island's offering is limited. So most visitors have to kind of find their way around. We want to make this really easy for them. And we want to retain visitors, retain family visitors. And as a result of this, we believe that we'll see some untapped revenue streams and more of a targeted audience retention. So part of the proposed solution is a new website, which we've already invested in. So we don't need much help with the rebranding, if you will, the new look and feel for the chamber website. But we do think there is an opportunity to work closer together on a comprehensive marketing strategy to help redefine, reshape, or enhance really the island's appeal to families. So who's our target audience? Well, it's family vacationers, family visitors, whether they're here for the day or here for a week. We're focused on appealing to families looking for an elevated experience on the island, Our brand messaging and aesthetic emphasizes quality, fun, and discovery. Isle of Palms will be positioned as a unique destination offering dining, shopping, and activities without excluding families seeking more budget-friendly options. So this is truly an inclusive. We don't define what a family looks like or is, right, or how many people, but it's just families in general. So retention, we have a comprehensive platform that we already have this audience. We also know where they're coming from in some cases. We know a little bit in our previous work about what they like, what they desire. We get phone calls saying, where do I find this, or is this available? So we're able to take that information and just build out a more comprehensive program to support what they're asking for. So again, we want to build loyalty and gather some of the value that Isle of Palms offers and make that very apparent to them. Some of our strategies, I mentioned the website enhancements and engagement. When we're talking about digital marketing, engagement is key. I'll show you some examples of what we've done with our site specifically to give you an idea of where this could go. Social media, enhancing the best of the island, collaborative promotions with local businesses to drive web traffic. The Chamber, we want to serve, this is really one of the primary things I want you to understand, is we want to serve as the catalyst to help the city reach its target audience. We know that there are other marketing efforts that have more of a broader approach. So, whatever you guys or the city defines as that audience, we want to kind of line up in that way. Through our directory and curated itineraries, we'll connect businesses and visitors in meaningful ways, building lasting relationships that foster loyalty and encourage family vacation planning year over year. So our new website, which you'll see, is based around what we call an upscale aesthetic. It's really inspired by high-end family destinations. And one of the examples we found in our research was Freshfield Village over near Kiowa. If you were to go to the other site and had never been to Freshfields, you would know exactly what to do when you got there. There would be no questions about what businesses, what activities, the time to be there. So that's one of the models that we've looked at in our build out. Itineraries tab, we'll have curated family-friendly plans. We'll update these bi-monthly. So before you get to the island or while you're at the island, you'll be very easily to navigate the things that are going on. We'll have a map and directory. This is a comprehensive digital and physical map showcasing all of local businesses and attractions. Not only a tool to attract vacationers, but boosting membership at the Chamber. And this information is not currently displayed anywhere else. The city has a calendar, but there's nothing that is interactive and comprehensive. This is a sneak peek of what we've built so far in a demo environment, or just kind of give you the look and the feel of the site itself. I think I'm a slide behind you here. There you go. Thanks. You running that for
See
me
that?
as I'm not clicking?
See that, Ron?
Man, we're on the same page. So that, and then go to the, we'll see. Yeah, there you go. The map and directory. So what I like about the map is we've got it broken out into two phases. Phase one is just getting the directory up and running for all local businesses and all locations. It doesn't matter if you're a member of the Chamber or not. We want to include that business. And then phase two, which will take some more thought and a few more meetings, I would imagine. But we're wondering what a physical kiosk might look like on Front Beach, and if there's a place for it to kind of help guide visitors to whatever it is they're looking for, and to make this interactive and user-friendly, just to increase the engagement with the local businesses. And it's also not just a business list, it's a tool to help locals and vacationers. Laura, do you got anything to add to kind of the visionary part of the directory?
I think what we talked about, if you don't mind, if you can speak into the mic, it's just for our live streaming audience. You'd be surprised how popular these meetings are.
Fine. So when we talk about doing the digital directory on the website, that would be something where it has all inclusive, all the businesses. And if you clicked one, this shows here what it would look like opened, which is really nice. You can click through to the website, you can see additional services, you can see what kind of accessibility the businesses offer, which is really nice. So if it's handicap accessible, if it's autism friendly, if it's pet friendly, that kind of thing. So it's really elaborate in that way. And right now, digital is the easiest for us to tackle, but we hope that at some point a physical kiosk would be so exciting. We think Front Beach would be nice just because it's the most accessible for people when they're visiting. But when I first got to Isle of Palms, when I moved here, I mean, I didn't know what was around me. I didn't know what was on the island. And I think people struggle with that. I think family vacationers come here and, you ask, what should I do when I get here? You ask people for recommendations, but to have that physical kiosk would be so nice, just to be able to see like, okay, I'm looking for a salon while I'm here. I need a haircut. Okay, perfect. I'm looking for seafood and that kind of thing. So on and so forth. It would just be really nice for people to see everything Isle of Palms has to offer. Which would just enhance their experience here on the island and then also probably drive more traffic to businesses that people wouldn't otherwise know about.
Thank you, Laura.
Yes.
So part of our social media strategy, we've already started some of this. We'll use drone footage to showcase the island's beauty, create engaging reels focusing on island experiences like dining, pet-friendly spots, beach rentals, family itineraries, kid-friendly spots, consistent upscale imagery to attract families, and a curated showcase of the island's appeal to families looking for both quality and adventure. This is just an example, some screenshots of some of the social media reels that we've produced. And then we couldn't come to you without some success indicators. We believe that this is where there should be some collaboration. I know in the past you may have seen some data that says, well, we had this many clicks and we went to this many clicks. We had so many page views and we went to this many page views. And it's really hard to dollarize what does that mean in ATAX dollars. So we want to really work closely with you guys to kind of come up with what those metrics should be. We have some ideas. One would be increased web traffic and social media engagement, higher family vacation numbers and extended stays. Obviously, if our membership went up, that would be an indicator. Positive feedback from visitors and businesses on the directories and the itineraries. We believe that if residents said, hey, I've noticed a shift or more families on the island during the busy seasons and, it's benefited to quality of life issues, that could be an indicator. And then, again, those align metrics. So we don't have all the answers of what good might look like, but we really want to partner with you. And, it's got to be more than, occupancy rates went up, right? So we just ask for collaboration there. Each visitor to the chamber site represents an estimated dollar value. We don't know what that value is at this moment, but those dollars are spent on the island, and we connect the visitor with local businesses, accommodations, and experiences. By attracting and engaging those visitors online, our website drives real economic impact, encouraging spending that supports our community and contributes to the island as a whole. So our project timeline, we're already in the rebuild of our website, and we will launch that in November. We would also like to launch the digital directory at that time and begin our social media campaigns, introducing the family itineraries and the family-friendly focus to the island. And then we would like the opportunity to come back to you in February of 2025 with our findings and some of those metrics. So this is a little bit of a confusing slide. You see 75,000 at the top. I think that's the number that we came up with for everything all-inclusive. But this phase one would just be for that top line item of 15,000. That's the ask for today. And we intend for this to be an ongoing type of effort, collaborative with the ATAX committee and the city. And this is just a beginning where we prove proof of concept to some direct marketing to a specific target audience. And as we move forward, we'd like the opportunity to kind of discuss these other things on here. So this is a little bit of the brand aesthetics that you will see of some of the work that I want to say we, but it's truly Laura and her team put together. So if you were curious about what the look and feel might be like, this is a great example. It's very sophisticated in its approach, and it's also relaxed and fun. Not that you would need to know that, but you can see that where we are currently in our look and feel, and then we're moving to that right. So what is the ask? What is the chamber asking for today? We're asking for an initial investment to market to the city's desired target audience. And investing that $15,000 will allow us to demonstrate the tangible impact we can create for the Isle of Palms as a community. Desiree mentioned beautification. That was actually kind of something that we think that could be in the future. We really don't want to focus on, physical projects like signage, but it did to us lend itself that as you're rebranding, are there some other things that actually are on the island that you may want to consider? So this is just an example of something that, we could potentially speak with you all on, or the city on, in the future. But for now, we think we just want to stay focused on the scope of work, getting that 15,000 and coming back to you with some results that are beneficial for future conversations. Any questions? Any comments from anyone?
Chairman, may I?
Yes.
Okay, about the build-outs of new signs, I don't think the city wants to surrender the control of signage in the city to the Chamber of Commerce.
That's why it's not in the first wave, and I brought it up just for discussion, and I tend to agree with you.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that all businesses are being included. That was a question. The kiosk, if we did have a physical kiosk, sort of, on Front Beach, and we took it down, right? But no one serviced it. Who is going to be responsible for taking care of a physical kiosk?
So at this point in time, we're not asking for any dollars for a kiosk. We want to create everything digitally. So two things that we mentioned today that are just idea generators for the future are a physical kiosk, signage, and things of the like that might support the digital efforts.
Right.
So we haven't thought through who manages it, how
'Cause that's a
often does it
concern,
need maintenance.
like the
Yeah.
lights in front, and the Front Beach, who changes the light bulbs, who pays the bills, and that's something to consider. I just lost my thought. I'll give up the phone
I
until
think,
it comes back.
to the physical
Oh, yeah.
kiosk, I mean, we wouldn't move forward and try to answer some of those questions about where, how, who's the vendor, who does the maintenance on it, what's the upkeep, what's the life. All those things, we would exert those efforts if the city and the ATAX committee said, hey, we think this is worth exploring. So we've done very little research other than to take the idea that if we have a digital, what would it mean to have a physical?
Right.
That's as far as that
So
went.
what exactly is the 15,000 going to? I mean, this is all broad strokes and
Yeah,
very well presented.
So it's
but-
going to the outreach. I mean, I've used the term as we need a wider net, a more specific net. So in digital world, we can market specifically to families in certain geographies that we know.
So it's for the website.
It's not for the website. It would be for social media. It would be for geofencing marketing efforts. Laura, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little on the outreach. So social, right? And so there's a way for us to target certain potential visitors in certain markets, and they call it geofencing. So we would put dollars towards a geofencing effort so that if
Could you
someone.
explain that a little bit more, though? What exactly does that
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, sure.
Yes, I can definitely try to explain it. So there's a few different types of targeting when you think of social media. There's organic, where we can target people who are searching in their Google search engines. I'm sure you guys get these types of ads all the time. Like you search for shoes, and then all of a sudden
everything pops
on
up.
Facebook and social media, there's all these shoes that are showing up. So that's actually something that we can pay to have done. So if people are searching for things to do on Isle of Palms or Southern Vacation, or what to do in Charleston, we would like to get in front of those people. We would like to pull those people who are already, it's low-hanging fruit, right? People are already looking
So they're on
for something to do.
Facebook or Instagram?
Yeah,
or whatever?
Facebook and predominantly Instagram for this. We're not talking about TikTok. It would be Instagram, Facebook. The traffic would drive towards the IOP Chamber site, which is why it's nice that it would be all-inclusive of all the local businesses. Like Rod mentioned, it's not just the members. So traffic would click through to the website, which is really nice. And that's a more targeted search, but there's also just, to Rod's point, geo-fencing means you can literally choose a zip code. You can get as granular or as wide of a net as you want. And so if we said, okay, we really want more people from upstate of South Carolina coming down here towards the beaches, we can target those people, feed them ads, feed them what there is to do around here. And that really works well with what we're already doing with social media, because right now we are highlighting all the local businesses in really fun, engaging reels. So if you're looking for pet-friendly places, all the pet-friendly places on IOP are showing up in those reels. And so we can boost them, which means we can pay for those to reach more people, more engagement, and more people clicking through to the site. Does that make sense?
Now I know why I get ads for shoes. The moment I've clicked on one thing, yeah.
And it can be expensive. The
Getting
nice thing
away.
is we have the ability to set the budget according to what our idea of a
And what is
successful
the kind of
campaign
budget?
is.
What does it take to drop something in?
Oh, that is a million-dollar question, truly. It depends what time of year. If you're doing it in November, December, you're competing with people who are trying to get you to purchase their products for the holidays, right? So November and December can be a tricky time of year for anyone because you're bidding with other people who are paying to have their campaigns reached. Whenever I work with clients, I say successful campaigns for a smaller demographic would be, at least $1,000 a month. So it can get expensive quickly. So I think with the funds, we would be very intentional about how we allocated them and make sure that we were actually seeing the success from it, right? If you don't want to just throw dollars at something, if it's not working, then you repurpose the money in a way that's working, that's people are engaging with.
So right now, they have to go to the chamber website, and then they can get all this information.
Yeah.
Right?
That's how the ads would click through. So, you maybe would tease somebody with something that would come to the website and see everything that is offered. The directory helps a lot with that, right? This is everything you can do, but also the itineraries tab, which is, just think of fun blogs, like, 5 things to do with your family this weekend on IOP, or if there's holiday events coming up. These are the top 10 holiday events on IOP this weekend. So it just kind of all works together, lots of information, a little bit more than what is up currently. Because it's very hard to go anywhere and find a comprehensive list of everything that Isle of Palms offers. I don't know if you guys agree with that, if you feel like it's difficult to find that. That's been our understanding. So we're trying to rebrand, and then after you rebrand, it's great to have a beautiful website with all that information, but then you need to pay to get other people to realize that it exists, and then over time, people will, share the site, share the link, and then you get a little bit more organic traffic coming to the site. But in the beginning, yeah, you do have to spend some money to get people to visit your new site.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Does the chamber have a button on the Isle of Palms website?
No.
Is that possible, that can happen? So they can, if we're going to have all this information on your website, it'd be nice for it to be able to click through.
It's very possible.
Yeah,
It's in
we're-
the works.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
we're going through a whole rebranding of the website, so that's something that could be included for the new edition.
Is there a way to combine both websites and have the chamber?
No.
No, you can't do that.
Don't want to do it.
Okay.
No,
And
this is
then,
a
forgive me for
government
this
website.
question, because I can't quite remember, but the CVB gave some money to the chamber, right? For the
website,
Is
yes.
that ongoing, or was that a one-time?
That was just for a couple of years. They've backed out. We don't have any funding. For
There's no more
CVB.
funding on that one.
Yeah, they helped,
Well, they
the
helped start it
chamber
up,
started
right?
up
Yeah.
and supported
And
it
so
for
did we.
several years.
Okay.
I don't think that their intention was to support that ongoing. for-
And I do
forever.
like the idea, not signage, but the beautification part of that. Because if we're going to start showing an elevated website,
Mhm.
elevated photos, then we need to be able to make sure we have
Well,
the landscaping.
Beautification is always a good thing.
It
but I
is.
think it's the
It is a
city's
great
purview,
thing.
not an
Mhm.
independent organization's purview.
Yeah.
I was on the committee when we were first changing signs and stuff. Getting the city to agree to something is difficult enough. And-
Yeah, I think the city had a wayfinding sign program and a plan that was many, many years ago, so might be a good time. And this is something that this committee can recommend next year when you're working on the budget for FY '26. That could be an initiative that this committee pursues for the city to
the city.
update that wayfinding sign plan and include funds for doing that, and then the construction and installation of those signs.
And that, with the beautification part of it, with the flowers
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah, landscaping, it's paid for by tourism dollars. I don't recall if I think there may be the muni accommodation tax. There may be some state accommodation tax that goes to that, but it's an eligible expense and something that could be incorporated. I think it's part of a broader effort at rebranding and updating things to a certain look.
I like that.
I have a question, and I don't understand your relationship with the CVB. And maybe I'm confused, but I understood you cannot have two MSOs. So how does this work if we support, if our tax money goes to help the chamber and our tax money goes to CVB, where, I mean, I don't understand that. It seems to me, and I may be wrong, that we have now two marketing agencies that are trying to do very similar things, is bring more tourists, heads on beds, whatever, to the Isle of Palms. So would you consider the chamber a second marketing group?
So a couple of things. That's a very loaded question, but I'm gonna try to take it piece by piece. State law does allow municipalities to select more than one direct marketing organization if they exist. So it would be up to the city council to decide how to, if it wants to distribute that 30% of all the state accommodation taxes that we have, the 30% currently has to be used for tourism promotion only. And that 30% has to be managed by a regional direct marketing organization. For many years, for over 25, almost 30 years, it's been the Charleston Visitors Bureau, Explore Charleston. There is an opportunity for the city council to share that 30% with another direct marketing organization if one exists and can prove to the city that they have an ongoing tourism promotion program. So that is possible if the second, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or another entity, has the ability to prove that they can do that tourism promotion program. What they're asking for you all is funding from the city's 65% allocation. So outside of that 30% for tourism management, the city has control over the remaining 65%. Every year, this committee recommends an allocation of $50,000 to distribute to 501c3s that come to you all with requests to do programs and sponsorships that also enhance tourism promotion and bring heads and beds. That is the bucket of money that they are asking funding from. So you are not deciding on the 30% that the CVB currently manages for the city at this point. That has been decided as part of the FY25 budget. So we're talking about a separate bucket of money, if you will.
Would that separate bucket of money be accessible to the city if we developed our own marketing organization? We talked about that in the past, and it was,
So the 65%, it's used for operational needs of the city. The 30%, I think what you're talking about is if the city wanted to create its own marketing organization, the city would have 30%, the same 30% that is provided to the CVB, the city would have to use that same bucket of money for tourism promotion. The challenge is that I know that other communities manage that 30% by themselves. The advice that we have been provided over time, and it was supported by a decision or an opinion from the Attorney General, is that if a direct marketing organization exists, that is what the city has to select for the use and management of those funds. That's a different can of worms. I don't think we're talking about that. But yes, I mean, I think it's the same 100% bucket of money.
Okay.
Of that, a third has to be used for tourism promotion. That is given to the Charleston Visitors Bureau, to the CVB. And then the 65% is what we're talking about here, distributing some for additional tourism promotion efforts.
would it be possible to split the 30% with the chamber and with CVB? Now, remember, I don't understand the complexity, and you're explaining this beautifully, but a lot of other people don't understand the complexity either.
So that's up to city council. That's not what's on the agenda today. What's on the agenda is of that $50,000 that's in the budget, you all
Yes.
receive applications from 501c3s to get a chunk of that money. We had $15,000 left over in FY25. So they're asking for a portion of that fund. So if council decides to manage that 30%, so we're talking about a different pot of money.
Yes.
If they want to manage the 30% differently and decide that the Chamber of Commerce is now an eligible entity to receive a portion of those funds, that's going to be up to city council, and that has to be done as part of the budget process, not at this point.
Thank you very much.
Does that make sense?
I think you answered a lot of questions.
Okay.
So
I
you-
hope.
I'm sorry, but you guys aren't representing yourselves as a DMO at all. Like, that's not what this is about.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
So I just want to make sure we're
We-
clear on that, because it feels a little bit like that to me.
understand.
And it feels like it's a little bit parallel with what the CVB's doing.
Yep.
Except for you guys are maybe a little bit more targeted.
Absolutely. You said it there at the end, targeted, right? So we're not competing with CVB. We're not a DMO. We're the chamber. Laura has skill sets that we pay her, and she's interactive into our strategy and our execution. We were going down a very similar path on our own, and then it came to our attention that the city is really considering what it would mean to brand to families. And so we're coming to the plate to say we can fill that void, and we can come back to you in just a few months and show you real metrics and results. At that time, if it makes sense to continue a conversation, we would love to have a more in-depth conversation. But for now, we were going down a similar paths, and I think it lines up with what the strategy is, or what I understand to be a developing strategy from the city's perspective. The question about our relationship with CVB, we do not have a relationship with CVB. We know them well enough to feel like if we needed a sponsorship or they wanted to sponsor an event, that they would come forward. We have worked with them in the past, but we're currently not working with them.
To me, this feels like almost an augmentation of your internal budget for the Chamber of Commerce, right? So you're looking for us to help, for the ATAX committee to recommend augmenting your budget to maybe bridge a gap between your current membership, your dues base. You guys see a way to accelerate that, but you need a cash infusion. Is that okay way of looking at
That's
it?
spot on. So, without talking specific numbers,
Understood.
our membership can get around 100. And, we're just focused on businesses on the island. And then we also have residents that are able to be a member at a very discounted rate. Those dollars in a year without fundraisers or anything else is operational cash for us. So, we do pay a monthly fee to maintain our website and some of our social media presences. But to my point about a wider net, we can only focus on this, right? And so with these extra funds, we would be able to get more specific around this demographic and measure what the feedback and payback could be to the city and results.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So without the help and without the funds, we would continue down our path that may be a little different than what we're talking about today, but it would be a much narrower focus. So we could, and another way of saying this is we could do this same type of marketing campaign digitally to attract new members, right? And it would be the similar amount of spend, but we think there's more synergy in us thinking about the direction where the city might be heading. Anything else? All right, thank you so much for your
Thank
time
you.
today, and we're available if any questions come up in the next couple of days or so. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, Vice Chair, we have on the agenda presentations of financial statements by Deborah.
Thanks, Doug.
Deborah, would you please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. As of September the 30th, 2024, the total assets for September is 4.9 compared to $4.4 million. The fund balance is currently at 4.8 compared to 4 million last year in September. We have not received any state funds for the ATAX accommodations for the first quarter, covering July through September. The only income we've received is the grant that came in August, and then additional interest income. So we have a total revenues received for the quarter of $67,000. For our expenses, they are tracking as normal. We did pay out $15,000 for the access control system that is going into the Public Works building, into the Public Safety building. And that is a budgeted item of $62,000, and we paid $15,000 towards that expense in the month of September. So for year-to-date total, we have expended $106,000, well, might as well say $107,000 for those 3 months. Do we have any questions concerning that? Okay, that's all I have, Madam Vice Chair.
Are there any other presenters?
No, ma'am.
Are there any questions?
Oh, how about, we're not going to talk about the survey thing?
Yes, that's
Oh.
on your, if
There's no one here from the college. We're just going to,
correct. We've received a copy of the draft survey that was prepared by the Office of Tourism Analysis. I've included both the Word document in draft and then what it would look like online, so it feels maybe duplicative, but I sent you all I've received from them. I trust you've had an opportunity to review it, and if there are any questions or feedback that we can convey to those folks, let us know. I will be sending this. I think I reported at your last meeting that I had a meeting with several property managers on the island, buying into the concept, excited to help distribute the link, because that's really going to be the biggest challenge, is making sure the survey link gets to the right people that stay on the island so that we can get that information. And they're on board. The chamber Rod Turnage and Alex Stone asked to look at it and also provide feedback. I haven't shared that with anybody other than committee. I wanted to get your take first. But that would be the next step, just giving them a few days to look at it, make any suggestions, and then provide any feedback back to the staff at the Office of Tourism Analysis and the CBB for their look.
Do we have any new business?
We still want to,
Are we still on the old business?
Yeah, we're still on.
get some input from us
Yes,
about it.
if you have any particular questions or concerns about it, that we can make sure that the survey reflects your.
Right.
Yes.
I'll start.
Yeah.
I think it's too long. I think it's maybe too intrusive. I mean, I've thought of myself filling it out. Do I really want to say how much money I make? I don't really want to say what my race is. I think it's taking a sledgehammer to hit a flea. I mean, we want to know basics, but if I wouldn't fill it out. After looking at it, I would start, and about halfway through, I'd go, oh, this is ridiculous.
Okay. So too long and
Too
maybe
long.
too many demographics.
It's too many
Demographic
details, right?
questions.
I mean, okay, so I just came here with my family, and now you're asking me, well, I spent that much on a hotel, and that much on a rental car, and that much on, holy cow, that was expensive. I mean, I don't know that that's a positive feedback, It could be shocking, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is long. Unlike you, Bart, I would quit before I got done with it, right? And I think that but I don't do surveys for professionally, so this might be what you have to do. And if you only get a 2% response, that's better than getting nothing at all. But I think there's got to be maybe a prioritization of elements that will be key drivers.
Right.
Something to make it short. I mean, I don't know about everybody else. My attention span is about yay long, and if you put me in a 5-page survey, I'm out after the first half page. So
Okay.
I think I would ask them to honestly to dumb it down a little bit more, and what are the top 3 or 5 things that they need to know to help them build out, more of a database, or maybe there's a way they can have a decision path in there. If somebody wants to share the down and dirty, they certainly can. But what are the things that we need to know, and then there could be, answer more questions, and if we get that, fantastic, but if we don't, then so be it.
Great. Okay. I don't disagree. Thank you.
Am I looking at 2 different surveys?
It's the same one. One, it's from
Okay.
what you would be looking at online.
Really long.
I was like, that's.
So it's not, it's the same thing
Yeah.
in 2 different formats.
Oh, yeah. And I think, going back to maybe 10 questions, but I would like to see, to build the demographic. I think you do need to have something about income. But that goes back to our marketing. If we're marketing to a higher end clientele and we see that they're not higher end, the majority of who's coming here, then we're wasting our dollars. So we kind of need to see who we're actually marketing to,
Yeah.
right? We don't want to do a rebrand if the marketing's going to be all wrong.
Well,
Does
I
that make
don't think
sense?
We're not really looking for a rebrand. I mean, we are a family-friendly island. That's the way it's advertised. That's the way the rental companies present it. I'm sure they give all the information, out. So I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I just think it's too intrusive. I'd like to know what they liked. I'd like to know what they didn't like. They didn't like noise in the house next door, that kind of thing. But I don't know, just what race are you? 18 things given, then other. I mean, it just seemed too cumbersome.
I do think that part of the goal of this is to ensure that the dollars that are being spent on advertising and marketing are being targeted to the right demographics and the right people. So I think that that's probably, and we talked a lot about that when they were here, making sure that we're spending money efficiently. That's part of the reason why they probably spent time and included a lot of demographic information, but maybe there's an opportunity to consolidate it and just ask maybe the top 3 demographic questions that we really need to know.
Right.
But yeah, I do think that without that, we would not be able to know where, if we're targeting to the right people.
And it could be, there's some anonymity to it, and the ranges maybe can be done in such way, that you're not saying I make $133,050 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
It
I
could
make
be 0
between,
to
a family
100,
income is,
100 to 400.
right?
But, you know, the primary mode of transportation, I'm not sure. That might be another question that they're trying to gauge on their end.
Right.
And I don't think that has much to do with,
Because you're not worried
we
about
need.
parking for these people that are coming and staying here. They're
Not
parking
really.
where they're staying,
There's
right?
where they're staying, right?
Yeah,
but we should also trust the process and know that the Office of Tourism
that's
will
the
know,
balance,
will-
right?
Well, I mean, they probably just threw everything in there.
Right.
And then they can start hacking away at what are the top five most often asked demographic
Questions.
questions.
Right, and it would
you
answer
know?
their question about, are we targeting properly? So,
Correct.
you know, it's really to benefit them as much as it is us. If it benefits them, then it benefits us.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. And
Okay.
it could just be that we start out, maybe the first one doesn't need to be so elaborate, and if we start to see that we're getting good responses,
Then maybe
then
we can expand.
in year two, then you go, I have a little bit more, and see how much we can get. I mean, this wasn't, I don't think we can expect this to happen overnight.
Yeah.
But again, that prioritization thing could be, the first round, we're gonna have these 5 questions, next round, we add these 3, and then, you know, something along those lines.
That's a great idea. Well, we'll get in touch with them.
Okay.
Get their reaction. They can probably come to the next meeting of the committee to maybe revise a final version. We'll also share it with the chamber and the property management group, just to get their feedback at the same time.
Are we
And-
gonna get the feedback that, their opinions about it? Will we be
Fro-
privy from the?
Sure, we can share that, yeah.
So I'd like to know
absolutely.
how,
How they received it, yeah,
yeah.
of course.
Because I think it's great that maybe we're not looking at it through the right lens. If it's data that they'd rather get, then we ought to have that as well.
Well, we appreciate your feedback.
Sure.
Now we're going to new business, ma'am.
Do we have any new business?
So we have your consideration of the applications for funding from remaining budgeted funds in FY '25 for tourism-related programs and sponsorships. Just for awareness, there are $15,000 that are left that remains in that fund through the end of FY '25, which is next June. As you all know, we'll be starting the process again as we start building the budget for next FY '26, next budget year. So that'll be another process. This is to try to maximize and utilize all your budgeted funds in our current fiscal year. And you've received 2 applications. I know Lavonda Brown is not here. I exchanged emails this morning, just after the meeting started. She thought that the meeting was via Zoom. So she won't be here. She asked for whether another meeting will be held. That's up to the committee. I know that our goal was to try to get recommendations to council for their November 12th meeting, which is their last regular meeting of the year. But it's up to you all if y'all want to
So
have
there-
another meeting.
There are 2 offerings that are both asking for the same money.
Yes, ma'am. So you have the chamber and the MLK event.
And how does that work with the MLK? Last year, the committee didn't want to give anything, and then we suggested 5, and we gave them 5 with saying we'd like to see some historical data. And then I looked, and it said they didn't have any historical data.
Yes.
But isn't that a requirement of all when we give money?
That is a question in the application.
Yes.
And after your last meeting, let me share this with you all. We asked for data on overnight stays from the past event, and this was the response. 2024 was the first year, but the feedback was great. We have a new marketing plan, and now that the event is on a Friday, it should be more enticing for overnight and even weekend stays. Our business and professional breakfast will be on Thursday, and our next major events take place Sunday and Monday. We have sponsors that represent both state and national corporations, so the lineup of dates should prove to support more interest in staying over IOP. However, no data, and this is me, not what I'm reading. No data was provided about how many people stayed this January, which would have been their first event. But we did request that.
Also, this was a situation where they had out, it's a private function and by invitation only. So, she had said that there would be, 150 invitations sent out. One half may attend, and 75 may stay on our pumps. So also too, we were going to look at the policy of public-private funds. Since this is a private situation, also the CVB did donate money for food and beverage, but we pay comes out of the money that we pay the CVB. So, and she's not attended 2 meetings for various reasons. You know, I don't think we should call a separate meeting for her to attend. She may or may not come, and we still don't have, I don't think the bang for the buck is going to be there for the attendees coming here and spending enough money to compensate for a $10,000 request. That's my opinion.
So just to, to share with the committee, I know the question about it being a private invitation-only event came up at your last meeting. I did reach out to the Tourism Expenditure Review Committee. Their response was they're really not there to say one way or the other whether a request is eligible or not. However, she did say, you know, even if it's a private reception, if it generates heads and beds in your community, then that would make it eligible. So I know we had the same concerns last year, basically getting the same response from them. It's up to our guidelines, but it would be an eligible use of these funds.
I mean, I think to me, there should be a return on, this should be seen as an investment, and there should be some return on investment, and I have no idea how we would ever know what our return is here. So I agree with what you're saying. If we don't know what the bang for the buck is, then it doesn't seem like something we should move forward with. I hate that she's not here to defend herself, but in light of her being able to defend herself, I don't think that it's a good use of our money.
I agree.
And the committee will be starting a process for FY26. This is, I think, great feedback for them to better prepare, put together a more robust application.
Sure.
And maybe with 2024 and 2025 numbers should give you all an indication of how successful the event is at bringing people to stay overnight on the island.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
we can share that feedback with them.
Great.
So your second application was from the Chamber of Commerce for $15,000 to support their targeted marketing efforts on behalf of the city. And they are also requesting $15,000.
So did we already decide on MLK? Is that done?
Yeah.
Do we have to vote on it, or?
I don't,
If there's no motion put in by anybody,
I was just thinking maybe, again, last year, everybody shot it down. I suggested 5,000 to reach across the bridge, as she was saying. And then can we give them one more chance and maybe give them, they're asking for $1,000 for invitations? Maybe help them out that way? So we're inviting people to the Island Palms, or am I just way off on that one?
Well, we could have them to come in next year for 2026
Yeah,
and
yeah.
make a presentation. And as Park said, we'll have some data for that. But that's,
I was hopeful that we would be getting data this year, right?
Yeah.
At this meeting or last meeting, because they have what went on, and we
Yeah.
don't have it. It's unfortunate.
yeah, it's a shame,
Yeah.
because if you ask for a grant, you've got to be able to validate the grant, and it's just, I can't see how we can do that.
Fair.
I follow you, though.
I was
I follow your heart.
give them a little bit. Well, invitations against the, inviting
Yeah.
people to the island, so.
Yeah.
It's $1,000.
yeah, you all can make a decision, even though the request is for a certain amount, you all
Right.
know that you can make a recommendation for something other than that. And if anybody.
As a token of goodwill, sort of.
As a token of goodwill.
we gave them 5,000 last year with,
No, was it
It
5,000
was
last year?
5,000.
Yeah.
They had asked 15 and we gave them, or they asked 10 maybe.
and
We
And
gave
this year,
them
they've asked for 15.
They've asked for 10 this year.
10.
Oh, 10.
Yes.
But in my opinion, she needs to show up and make the presentation as opposed to not showing up and expecting us to give her money.
But it is unfortunate, because I'd like to know how it went last year. You know, how many people did show up? I mean, it was supposed to be a really great event, the music was great and all that stuff, but they're not giving us the information.
And how many people spent the night? And how,
Yeah.
I requested data on overnight stays from this year's event, and what I read to you earlier was the response.
Okay. We can move on. I won't mind.
All right, is there a recommendation for the next, for the second application received from the chamber?
are
Any
we ready to
discussion from
make
the
a
group?
second, for the second application for the chamber?
I mean, as far as from a discussion perspective, I'm not overly familiar with the chamber, but this seems like something that should be covered by the dues that they're generating from their membership, I'm not a member of the chamber. I think the chamber's great, but it seems like we're trying to help them bridge a gap within their budget, which is fine. But again, it's always difficult to measure the return on the investment there. And I know we're not supposed to know their business necessarily, but this is to benefit the businesses, in my view. I don't think I don't know how many more visitors it's going to drive. I don't know how many more people are going to go to Island Pizza because of this. Like, I don't know, or to Islander 71. I don't know how you ever know that.
Well, it's not, and I think if that's the case, you're looking, I think that the guidelines from this committee is to generate heads and beds.
Right,
People
right.
staying on the island.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, yes, to your point, I don't know how this money would generate beds and heads. I mean, I think it would make
Or
maybe.
heads and beds.
Heads and hands.
Beds and heads. But, okay.
I
I
didn't
got
put
it.
my head on a
That's
bed.
what I
like
said
that,
for my
but-
first 5 years.
Yeah.
I got it all wrong.
But the point is I think it sounds great. It sounds very parallel to what the CVB is doing now. And I just didn't hear anything that differentiated the two for me versus what they should already be doing with their dues. But I don't know enough about their business model to understand what the difference is.
Yeah, I think they're great. I mean, Islander's not a member of the chamber, but I feel like they're kind of moving in the right direction. I'm just a little confused as to, we have the CVB, we have Isle of Palms, and then we have the chamber. So how do they all, and is there any other marketing don't we have a magazine or something?
Oh, there's a couple.
Yeah, but that's
That's
separate, that's
SIP,
private,
yeah.
yeah.
But I think if we can all march forward together, I think it would be a great thing, because it's more exposure, because they may be tapping somebody that the CVB is not, because the CVB is so large, they're worldwide.
I just wonder how people find this, how they find the chamber. If I would go to the Isle of Palm website, which needs to be reworked. Okay. But, that's, in fact, I did, I think, years ago. And I would look at the local newspapers. The Moultrie News was the first thing I subscribed to 25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
To see what was happening, on the island. It sounds very slick and well presented and all that, but there's nothing more I hate is when I buy shoes and then I get 23 ads for shoes. So I don't.
But that's doing their job.
Yeah,
That's what you want.
Yeah,
That's what you want.
Oh.
And, we do have this money, so it's.
right. But
We
yeah,
can,
And
we
it's
can
not
roll it
going-
over
I-
to next year and
We
have more
can, but I
money.
don't think it's gonna do any harm
right. No, I
for the
agree.
island.
I think it's a good
I
idea.
think it could only help.
I'd like to see them stay in their lane, though. I don't think they need to become our, I think the lights went up on Front Beach with, we didn't even know it was happening. I didn't, and then all of a sudden they're there, and how's that going? Are the lights still good? Is the city taking care of them? Or is
No,
the-
they are.
They are, well, bless their hearts.
Maybe they should have asked them about that too, because they were probably supposed to report back,
Oh, yeah.
right?
I-
Everybody we give money is supposed to.
I would say that what I read from the application is that they want to show what this $15,000 can do to the city for very targeted IOP-specific marketing. And a lot of the work that this committee has done over the last several years is push the CVB to expand, across from this regional marketing perspective, which has been very lucrative for the city because our tourism dollars have only grown over the years. But how can they utilize the money that the city generates with that 30% for IOP-specific content, and they've done a huge difference. I think now 40% of the city's 30% it's used for IOP-specific content. I think that the chamber's application is to expand that and for them to be another source of IOP-specific content. I think to your point, Park, is it more supporting the local businesses, which we can all agree, I think ultimately improves
Sure.
the economic vitality of the island. I don't know if it tracks, heads and beds, which I know it's the task of this committee, making sure that those dollars enhance that. That's, up to the committee to evaluate.
And it's a challenging time of year too, right? I mean, they start in November, we're in November, but they start in November and they want to have their first report out in February, I think it was. There's not anybody on the island right now. I mean, other than
Well, we get-
very local people. I saw over the holidays,
Yeah, we get a lot of
yeah.
holiday traffic, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if their sample data, if it's going to tell us a whole lot when you're measuring something from December to February versus May to August or whatever the windows are.
Except people are planning their trips in the winter after they get sick and tired of the snow.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so there may be, I'd be interested in how much traffic the Chamber of Commerce website gets now. Is it hot or is it?
I get an update from the CVB on a weekly basis from Explore Charleston, just as a business.
Oh, nice,
And
yeah.
they show all the marketing click-throughs and
Oh,
it's
okay.
they do a really good job. But I think that maybe the chamber can subsidize part of that, where maybe maybe there is a blind side that the chamber can reach. I don't know. I don't know enough about marketing. That 15,000 of a $75,000 budget seems high to
But
me.
that was a weird budget, because that truly wasn't the budget for this, that was the beautification and other stuff, right?
It was 75,000 top line and the first line was 15,000 for
Right.
marketing,
And then-
which is, I think is what they're talking about.
Right,
This
right.
But
The
maybe
other
if
stuff
you're a
wasn't-
marketing company, that's what you spend. So I'm fine with it. That's, I think there's probably things that we need to tie to it, such as some data after 6 months maybe, but I don't think it could hurt.
Well, since that 15,000 goes to marketing, and again, the CVB does our marketing, as Park said, there's no differentiation. If both of them are marketing Isle of Palms, if there's a way that they could work with the CVB, or it's kind of an interesting situation with the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe they want to be a CVB eventually. I don't know. But they're offering us the same thing or something very similar to what CVB's offering us. And I don't know whether I would look at giving them some of the money just to get them, to help them. But I think 15,000 is quite large when we have no data, no information on how many people they can bring to the island, how much revenue they can generate for the island. And I'd like to see, I know nobody does, but I'd like to see more on the off-season as far as things to do.
Yeah.
If they could provide more things to do, because we still are very lean on the off-season.
I don't know if this makes a difference in what we're talking about, but just remembered part of what the chamber does, and they did approach us too, is I guess there was, with business dealings with the city, they will get the businesses together and say, hey, this is coming up in the city council, this is what's gonna happen, as far as like paying for just,
Issues,
any kind of issues, and
Right.
so they bring them together and highlight, hey, this is coming up, maybe we need to go to the chamber as a unified force of
Right.
businesses. So it's a kind of the underbelly of the chamber. Doesn't have much to do with the advertising, but it's a good problem to have, is when we have a lot of business that we have to clean up after, So it's good. It works. And I am all for advertising, but as long as it's, and I like
It was
how they're
beautifully done, yeah.
Yeah,
the
I
presentation,
like it.
it feels like something we should see. I think 15,000 seems like a lot. But I think it's something maybe that we should seed and see if we can see some tangible results.
But if Laura said that like $1,000 a month for the upkeep for one of these,
The-
think
the
that
SEOs,
15,000
yeah.
doesn't sound
No.
like that much
But
Was
it-
$1,000 for what?
for like.
Like the monthly, that was like
My
that's
shoes,
the
right?
Elevate.
You know, if, you know, to go after that group, whatever it's
SEO,
called,
search engine
Corral or whatever.
optimization. That's the only thing I know about marketing.
Okay.
Everything. I'm all tapped out. Well, I do think though, if we're talking about winter, and maybe this is a good time to test it, because maybe it is, to your point, I think we all, even the locals, take advantage of the fact that these businesses are just going to be here, that it's like Toys R Us, we used to make all their money in December, but you expected in June to be able to go buy a kid's birthday present, right? So we all expect to be able to go to the Islander Pizza Place or the Islander 71 in February, just assuming you're going to be there because you made enough money the other 8 months out of the year. So I think if there's something that we could tie to, okay, what are we doing in these quiet times to drive more activity to Simmons Seafood or to whoever can benefit from it, I think it's great. I think 15's a lot. So if we can maybe drill it down to say, how can, give us something that says, yes, people came to our website and booked a reservation at a hotel or bought a pound of shrimp or, I don't know. I mean, I know I'm being silly, but how do we measure it? But I like it because I do worry about these businesses that we all take for granted not being here when the season comes back. Especially with the liquor, I guess what's happening with the liquor licenses right now, and you see all these restaurants closing and all these things.
Insurance.
Yeah, the insurance, that's
Dram
right.
shop.
Yeah, I mean, there's some scary stuff happening right now, so these businesses are going to struggle to get through the leaner times. So if we can focus in on that, I would be supportive of some dollar amount.
Well, we need to do this today. I mean, we're.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they-
So are you talking 10,000? Are y'all more comfortable with that?
Well, the difference between the CBD and this is that they are more dedicated towards Isle of Palms. With the CBD, we're just thrown into the mixture of the Charleston group. This group here is looking at, the chamber is looking at Isle of Palms. All that money will go to Isle of Palms and not a little bit to Folly, a little bit to downtown area and around here, Kiowa. So I'm in favor of the 15 because it is straight for Isle of Palms. All those funds will be going towards what we need and not being divided amongst other areas.
Well, maybe we could do the 15 with some stipulations at the end of.
Well, what he said, February. They said when they're
So at
gonna
the
come
end of
back.
February, maybe we need to see.
So
What they put that
we're
money
priming the
towards.
pump to see if they can come up with the statistics we need, that it's an acceptable expense, because obviously they're gonna come back and ask for more.
Because we did give them money before to help with.
Yeah,
the
we've
website
already
as well.
done that. We've got the
So-
His
website
first-
started.
Their first year.
And now they're changing it, redoing it.
And I think if there's a stipulation for them to be able to show how their
How it worked.
campaign not
Yeah.
only supported island businesses, but actually brought people to stay on the island, right? I mean, that's what generates the fund that you're tasked with making recommendations on. It's not the hospitality tax, which is the tax on prepared food and bev. It's people staying on the island.
Right. I think we should go for the 15. I mean, we have it, it's the end of the budget. What's the point of carrying over 5,000 or whatever? I
And we
mean,
know that all the revenue will be spent
For the-
for Isle of Palms and not into a mash pot for a group of other people, other municipalities, so.
The only other stipulation is we got to figure out how to measure success, because I don't
Right.
think they really have anything in there that said how we're going to know if we're successful or not. We can have feedback in February, but we're sitting here this time next year, whenever they apply for the next grant. How are we
Well-
going to know whether we're successful or not?
they're gonna have to convince us. I mean, hits
Right.
and whatever, and,
Right. But it does seem more granular than what CDB is doing. I think to your point, it is, we can say for sure that people, an individual business saw an improvement. We can say for sure that the Palms Hotel saw more stays. There are things that we could, in theory, measure and in theory tie to the campaign.
right.
Can we just put the strings attached, the 15,000, but they have to provide us
Well,
with
That's
all
part of
this
the deal.
information, or we, we won't be as receptive to them another time that they.
Well, that's sort of a
approach
threat,
us.
but I mean.
I would say.
It works.
I would say that
Carrot and
everybody
stick,
who
huh?
receives a grant has to provide a final report.
Right.
They will be providing that to you all before the end of the fiscal year next year. And that's just gonna be information that you all can use to, and, you know, just make a
Right.
decision on a future expenditure.
Well, I think he answered a question for you, as some of y'all, you guys must have had a conversation, but clearly he realized there's a hunger from this group to get more granular detail. And so I think they feel like they can provide that. So let's give it a go.
Give him a chance.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the grant to
Yes.
With,
the Chamber of Commerce for $15,000 to go to enhancing their website and drawing traffic to the Isle of Palms.
With proof that.
Well, that was
this is
part of their
happening.
I think it's
presentation,
part
right?
of a stipulation that they provide a report to
Yes.
the committee showing, metrics that,
Yes.
Right.
that the program or initiative has been successful, and some more granular data on how to determine whether or not that
Perfect.
met the goal.
You said it better than,
Any seconds?
I second.
so
All in
we have a
favor?
motion to approve.
In a second.
A second, okay.
So
For
moved.
the 15,000, do we have a
So now you call for a vote.
vote? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody
All
in
in
favor? All
favor?
in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay.
All right,
The
thank
motion
you. So
approved.
this recommendation will be presented to council at November 12th.
If we have no, do we have any, the next business would be setting a meeting date for the next,
Yes, I will share with you all the schedule for the first round of funding for FY '26. So we'll be releasing that in December. Applications will be due in February, so presentations will happen in March. So I'll send you that via email. And if it's okay with you all for the committee to continue meeting on Wednesdays at the first Wednesday of the month at 11, is that still work mostly for folks? It's not gonna be every month. It'll be, the first one will be in March.
Oh, so we won't meet again until March.
Correct.
okay.
Good to know.
Unless, and that, we won't have any new applications
Right.
for funding, and you've already adopted the budget.
March.
Up
Only
to the
question-
committee. The committee can meet, I won't be here in January. This is gonna be my last meeting with the ATAX committee. It's been such a pleasure working with you all. But up to the committee to meet anytime. I was just talking about the schedule for the
For the
applications, yes.
But with the budget process and all that, there would be separate meetings.
No. It'll be same meetings,
Okay.
same meeting schedule. We typically start the budget process at the staff level in January.
I see.
By March, we should have a first draft, and that's when you all would be looking at the
Looking at it.
draft of the budget for state aid tax, making recommendations for changes at that point.
Got it.
So I'll send that via email. If that's okay with you, I will just auto-populate those dates to the website, send you a calendar invite so you have it on in your radar. And I think that's all for miscellaneous.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes,
Sorry.
absolutely.
So if we want to meet, so let's just say we want to get together, I know we have to do it publicly, we have to do the FOIA and all those things. Do we coordinate that through, if you're still around, or your successor, if we want to have our own meeting that's not already scheduled? What's the process to get that done?
I would coordinate it with Nicole Deneen, our city clerk. She's copied in every communication we have, but I'll make sure she knows, so that an agenda can be prepared and advertised, and we have staff available for you all.
Okay, great. Can we have some money towards the tax officials?
Yeah, make it in a form of a motion or recommendation.
I would, should we make a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
second.
Everyone.
All in
So
favor?
this- All in favor?